Your cycle feels all over the place, your hormones are a mess. Your premenstrual makes you feel like you're a completely different person. Like there's so much anger and so much sadness coming up. Then follows your period, which feels like a punishment in itself with all the cramps, with this really deep need to rest, but at the same time, you feel so guilty for resting and you have stuff to do and you have places to be. And then is your roots and your ancestry. You don't even know where to start there. It just feels like this Pandora box of things to unpack. It just feels like a lot to unpack, right? It's complicated, okay? You feel split. You just feel the split between two worlds and you feel at home in neither. And then you remember the days you were so creative, like you loved to dance, to sing, to play, but that playfulness and that creativity, she's not in the room with us. She's left because life has gotten so serious. And after a day of just existing, you're just tired. You're just tired and you're exhausted. There's no juice left for the artsy, crafty projects that you've been dying to start. And then you're asking yourself, is this even the life I want? Is this who I am? And these existential questions, they always seem to come up in the week before your period over and over again. And you wonder, do they hold any truth? Or is it just PMS maybe? Is it just PMS? This was me up until a few years ago. I had a corporate job. I was working in the fashion industry. I actually liked it. It was a good enough job. It wasn't like I was going to work and feeling depressed about it. It was good enough, right? And my daily life, I guess it was fine. I mean, I didn't have any hobbies. I didn't really do anything creatively. I was definitely consuming way more on Instagram and on social media, just scrolling than I was like creating and making things. I tried to find joy in like the little things, going out to dinner with my boyfriend, hanging out with my friends. It was also during COVID, so options were limited, but I could tell something was missing. There was something a little bit colorless in my life. And then, of course, there was this whole thing with my Thai side, where as Lukheng, half Thai, half German, growing up in the West, I felt this distance between me and Thailand and also between me and my mother, who is the Thai person in my family. Just couldn't unpack what was this wall between us and why I never really felt like I belonged to Thailand the way that I belonged to Germany. I was just looking at Thailand through this lens of there's so much wrong with this country. It's really backwards. I just had this white colonizer Western gaze on third world country Thailand that was taught to me living here in the West, having grown up in Germany. So that was a thing as well. And to top it, I was on hormonal birth control for I think 10 years, starting super young at like age 14 or something. When you go to the gynecologist and you have like a little bit of cycle problems, they just hand you the pill and they're like, okay, bye. So I just kept taking that. And my connection to my body, like I just didn't feel my body at all. I looked at my body as something to optimize, like a means to an end. So if I was tired, I would be resting, but then only so that I can go again, basically. Like I was looking at my body more as a resource. And I think the reason why I stayed on hormonal birth control for so long was because I just didn't want to think about having a period. Honestly, I just even skipped the pill break because I was like, I can't be fucked having a period right now. Like, I'm going to go on holidays. I don't want my period to mess up my holidays, right? So it was all of these things. I just didn't realize how exhausted I was underneath all of that. Deep down, I knew something is off, something is missing. What I'm going to tell you next is what changed things for me. I want to say everything because it's true. And at that point, I had been toying with the idea of coming off the pill for years. And I was really scared to do it because a lot of my friends had pretty intense side effects from quitting the pill. And when I did, wow, this changed everything for me. When I started to listen to my body again after having ignored it for about 10 years, even longer, when I started having a cycle again, when I started having all of these symptoms, I really realized that my body was just trying to talk to me through those symptoms that I was experiencing, which was mostly PMS and the ups and downs that you feel in your hormonal cycle as a woman, as a womb holder, which is basically just your natural rhythm. This cycle that I started to experience with these hormonal ups and downs felt like my built in map that I had in my body, not like an outside calendar that I had to adjust my life towards, but something that was really like within my body and honestly giving me a permission slip to just be four different versions of myself. It felt like I could just show my multifaceted self because every phase brings out a different side of you, right? So having this menstrual cycle again, it gave me rhythm, it gave me freedom. And what I didn't realize back then, it gave me a map to decolonization and back to my ancestral home. Because from that point onwards, things just started to get into motion. I hadn't been in Thailand for 7 years because, and this is what I shared in my previous YouTube, I was like, okay, this is a very sexist country. It feels very backwards. Again, this kind of view that I had on Thailand, which was confirmed in many ways by how my family was, by what I had experienced visiting Thailand previously in my teens. So I didn't feel the pull to go to Thailand for 7 years. And once I arrived there, I could just tell how good it was for me, how my body recognized that this on a cellular level is my home too. Even just flying in on the plane to Chiang Mai and seeing the mountains of Doi Suthep, I could just feel every cell of my body coming alive. I could digest the food much better. I really started to feel this deeply spiritual connection to the land, to the earth, to the humans around me that I had never felt in Europe, that I had never felt in Germany, in the Netherlands, and all the places that I had visited in Europe. As soon as I stepped my foot on Thai earth, being in the jungle, being in the mountains, being at the beach, my body had been craving this. My cycle has been wanting this, and it has pushed me to go to Thailand, to go back there. Also seeing Thailand from a completely different perspective, not just how it is to be a mixed race woman, a Lukrung that has grown up in the West, always seeing myself as a little bit of an outsider, but actually wanting to go to Thailand with this sense of, no, I want to understand how I can relate to this country, how this is my home too. As I started to live more in tune with the 4 phases of my cycle, and I don't mean all this like cycle syncing bullshit about like, okay, you need to adjust the way that you eat and the way that you live and the way that you move to the 4 phases of your cycle, blah, 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 blah. That's not what I'm talking about at all. It's about leaning into the 4 different versions of yourself, leaning into the archetypes of every cycle phase, the energy that each phase can give you, the powers and the shadows. As I was leaning into this more, my creativity came back, and I never thought of myself as a creative person. I never thought that I'm artsy. I never thought I was crafty. The way my creativity was just urging me to get the fuck out of this corporate job and like start my own business and create content and find new hobbies like pottery, like painting, like music, connecting to spirit. I know this all came from being more connected to my body, to my cycle, to my womb specifically, which is the center of creation if you are a woman, if you are a person with a womb. So all of these things just opened up gradually, right? The relationship between me and Thailand, the connection between me and my ancestors, all of these things, creativity, they just kept coming up. And I realized none of these things were ever separate. They have actually built onto each other. And it all started with my cycle. I didn't make that connection until honestly a few years ago, where I was like, wait a moment, how did I get here? How am I living this life right now where I just feel so creatively fulfilled? I'm running my own business. I live in Thailand now. I feel more connected to my mother, to my ancestral roots than ever. I feel at home in this country, but I also feel at home in many other places. And I also feel at home within myself. How did I even get here? All of these things, they just work with each other. And it all started with my cycle and with my womb. And it makes so much sense, right? I remember actually learning this concept of this guy called Maslow, which is called hierarchy of needs, which is kind of like a pyramid showing human needs. And at the very bottom of it is safety. Safety that can be food, shelter, whatnot. But the way I see it when it comes to this topic is safety also means trusting your own body, understanding your menstrual cycle as a woman, as a womb holder, and living in alignment of what is true to your biological nature, which is you being a cyclical human and not a linear human who is waking up every day, being the same every day, just like good old daddy capitalism wants you to function. Once you start trusting your body and your cycle, then you move up to the next level. This is when you can tap into the need of belonging, of wanting to be part of a group. But what does it mean to be part of a group if you're mixed race? What does it mean to be part of one country and another, one race and another? You're always in the in-between states, and it is such a complex, deeply rich topic that I've been talking about on my Substack in my Sisterhood Lukung group a lot with all of the sisters there. It is very loaded, but it is possible to feel more connected to your roots, more connected to the different lands that you're coming from, not just the one that you grew up in, but also the one that you are from on a DNA level, to feel the connection to your ancestors, maybe ancestors that you have never met because you're far away from that family, from that side of the world, from that land that your body is from. But connecting to your roots and creating the sense of belonging, this is also what's going to help you to step into the next level, which is self-expression, self-fulfillment through creativity. So it is always safety first, body first, then belonging, understanding your roots, connecting to your roots, and then creation. You can't build the top floors of your house without having a ground floor, without having a solid foundation. And if you're wondering, how is all of this like truly connected? How is your body connected to your lineage? Your body is your lineage because of what your ancestors have survived, because of your ancestors surviving. You are existing. Your ancestors are literally alive in every single cell of your body right now. And they are alive within you in spirit. That again connects you to your creativity, because the most spiritual thing as a human being on this planet is to create. If you want to be spiritual, if you want to be connected to spirit, create. And this is where we have a full circle moment, because your womb, your menstrual cycle, that is the center of creation, not just as a woman, but of the entire universe. Because creation, creativity is what is happening in your womb. Because as a woman, as a womb holder, you are not just creating new life, you are the center of creation. We all come from the womb. We all are created from the womb. Your womb is pure creative consciousness. But if you grow up in this very modern and Western world, especially if you are mixed Asian, the way the system is designed is to take you out of your body and into your mind, and then using your mind to override your body, when they're in fact supposed to be in harmony. The systems that teach you this are alive in the override. It's when you start taking hormonal birth control at age 15. It's when you don't rest when you're exhausted on your period. It's when you're gaslighting yourself that this is just PMS and it's just normal to have these kind of symptoms. There's a reason why there's so much shame and so much suppression when it comes to your womanhood, to your cycle, and to your hormones. Because once you unlock that, once you come back to your womb power, everything else that you are dealing with, struggling with, working on in your life is going to fall into place. And that's because your cycle is the most direct line back to your ancestral lands, to your creativity, to yourself, who you are under all these layers of conditioning and limiting beliefs and ideas that are imposed on us as women, as womb holders in this world that we live in. And I read this in this book from Carly Mountain called Descent and Rising that my dear friend Karina gave me. And Carly Mountain says, the journey of the heroine is very different to the journey of the hero. The hero is faced with obstacles that he is supposed to overcome, learn from, and then come out on the other side with new learnings, with a new personality that help him to, I don't know, achieve what he wants to achieve, and then whatever, everything as well. But when it comes to the heroine journey, the female hero, it's not about overcoming something, conquering something. It is about coming back to who you are underneath all these layers of armor, of conditioning, of limiting beliefs, of things that are not yours, that society has put on you over the years. That is from, oh, you should be smiling more, to you have to work the way a man works to be taken seriously in your job, to even the way that you're being taught to see your motherland, be it Thailand or any other country in Asia, as backwards. That's where it is alive. All these layers we need to take off as women, especially as women of color, if we really want to create a life for ourselves from a place of creativity, fulfillment, and peace. If we want to create a life for ourselves that is in alignment with who we truly are in our core. So your cycle is the most direct line back to your ancestors. It is how you stop being a stranger to your own homeland and understand it on a deeper level. It is how you come back to your creativity, because it is creative consciousness that you have access to within your body right now. And it is how you come truly back to yourself. And your cycle is talking to you all the time through the symptoms that you might be experiencing, through the way that you feel in the different phases of your cycle, which is a map showing you, hey, this is where you can decolonize, this is where you can heal. And I will do a YouTube series about every cycle phase to talk about this a little bit more. And honestly, when I started this whole journey of connecting to my menstrual cycle, I just did it to start feeling better. But I had no idea I was starting this journey of decolonizing, of connecting to my roots, of living my creativity. My body knew. And I'm so grateful that my cycle showed me the way back to Thailand, to my ancestral home, to my creativity, to something bigger than me. Living my purpose as mentor and coach for women who are multicultural like me with cycle problems, trying to find their way back home to their body, to their creativity, to their roots, to themselves. So if you're sitting there now and recognizing yourself in this PMS and period pain roller coaster that you're experiencing every month, in this longing to wanting to connect to your ancestral roots, but not really knowing how to even start or how to even go back there, knowing how Western your brain is, how it sees everything through this like white gaze that you can't seem to unlearn, or this desire to feel inspired, to tap into your creativity, to feel juicy in your life. What if all of these things are connected? In fact, what if they're the same thing? What if they started here in your body, in your cycle, just asking to be felt? And what would be possible for you if your body was the first thing that you're coming home to? And dear sister, dear sibling, if this resonated with you, I would love to connect with you. So feel free to comment, send me a message on Instagram. And if you're curious about working with me on your body, on your bloodline, book a connection call. I popped all the links in the show notes. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you for the next episode. I will be creating a 4-part YouTube series, each video about one cycle phase and how it can help us to let go of patriarchal and capitalist conditioning. So decolonizing. So make sure that you're subscribing to not miss these videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.